Here's the room that I'm in. And here are my note cards. Children can never be responsible for or complicit in their own abuse, and no child around the world is immune to sex trafficking. According to federal law, human trafficking is the exploitation of force, fraud, coercion for the purpose of forced labor, commercial sex, or both. This information was found in the Human Trafficking in American Schools book, published in 2015, written by Shauna Knox. Human trafficking is deeply rooted within our world, and according to the International Labor Organization, it generates about $150 billion per year, making it the fastest growing criminal industry and making it the second largest criminal industry right behind drug trafficking. Now, I have been an advocate for children my whole life. I've worked with children for about 6 years. My major is child development, and I have been an active advocate for children in sex trafficking for about 3 years now. So this topic is very, very passionate towards my life. My goal today is to talk to you about further implications needed to save the world's children. Now first, I want to talk about why the government has allowed this issue to go on for so long and how immediate action is needed. Lack of prosecution and awareness all stem from how government leaders are simply not doing their jobs. Traffickers make an immense amount of money without any fear of consequence or punishment. Like I mentioned before, it generates about $150 billion per year globally. The 2015 Trafficking in Persons report states that there were a little over 10,000 prosecutions in the year of 2015. And from that number, there were only 4,000 convictions. From these same two numbers, there were only a little over 44,000 victims identified. This number may seem large, but in context, it is extremely small compared to the millions upon millions of children being trafficked per year. The Trafficking Victims Protection Act was enacted by the federal government in October of 2000. And a study provided by the ICF International, conducted in 2008, interviewed prosecutors across 27 states in the US. 54% of respondents stated that they were familiar with the TPVA. 4% of respondents said that legislation was having an impact on these specific cases. 75% of respondents said that legislation had absolutely zero impact, and 21% of respondents said that they were unsure. These numbers are alarming because before the year of 2000, there was no law that protected victims and prosecuted traffickers. Improving systems around the world need for immediate action. Promising practices are simply not enough because they are not set in stone, they are not official, and we cannot count on a promise when children are being trafficked as I am speaking. There needs to be an increase in collaborative units in regards to a unified investigation. This all needs to start at a local and community level. And in order to do so, there needs to be distinct training. And when addressing victims' needs, there needs to be more resources available and this all stems from lack of funding. A newspaper article written by Catherine Busham states that local law enforcement training should include training on overlapping of immigration, as this is a big factor in victim identification. 61 countries have laws concerning human trafficking. And a blog post from the Kinship United state that they encourage countries to pass legislation, and they have found that it has worked. But the number still remains extremely low, as it has sat at 61. Now that you know what the government lacks in regards to child trafficking and how immediate action is needed, there are ways that you can help build upon these policies and improve them. It all begins with community. Knowing indicators and doing personal research towards the victim-centered approach can save a child in the nearest school or the nearest grocery store. Volunteering at shelters, donating, and promoting this on mass media, finding an organization that promotes this on mass media will benefit it greatly. Watch movies, watch videos. You can do this from the comfort of your own home, and it's just a start. But most importantly, I want to preface on voting. Choose the candidate that favors child sex trafficking. You want to have them being on the children's side. Do your research and how your vote can take this into account. We need legislation to push funding to local law enforcement to start uncovering this issue from a community level. Now that you know what the government and you can do to make a change, I hope a realization has occurred as to why immediate action is needed. Being an advocate and wanting to change policy regarding child sex trafficking is something that I plan to do for as long as I can. Now, although the policies are new and they lack many things, that allows us as a community and as a global population to further improve on them, as countries are just now starting to make these policies. Now, hopefully you have some knowledge on how immediate action is needed. Apply these tactics to your life. Start at home. Join an organization. We need to do this in order to break the constant cycle of how our government leaders are just simply not doing enough to save the world's children.